The day my boss presented my idea to the entire company as his own, I smiled, clapped, and said nothing. Not because I was weak, not because I was afraid, but because I had already decided right in that moment that I wasn't going to fight him. I was going to replace him. 18 months later, his company lost its biggest client, to me, and he had absolutely no idea it was coming. Before I tell you exactly how this happened, I need you to understand one thing about the kind of person my boss was, because this isn't just a story about a stolen idea. It's a story about a system where the people at the top take credit for the work of the people underneath them, and they do it openly because they know you won't say anything. He was good at reading people. He knew who needed the job. He knew who had too much to lose. He'd been doing this for years before he met me. The only thing he didn't know was that I was already planning my exit before I even walked in the door. Let me take you back to the beginning. I joined the company 2 years earlier. Mid-size marketing firm, maybe 60 employees. I was brought in as a senior strategist, essentially the person who was supposed to generate new revenue ideas and pitching concepts to clients. And I was good at it. Within 6 months, I'd helped bring in 2 new accounts worth a combined $400,000 in annual recurring revenue. I got a small bonus, a great job in a Slack message. My boss got a new car. I noticed, but I kept going. Because the idea I was building, the one I'd been developing quietly for about 3 months, that was my real play. It was a productized service model. Instead of doing one-off campaigns for clients, we'd package our core offerings into monthly retainer tiers, almost like a SaaS model but for marketing services. Predictable revenue, lower client churn, scalable delivery. Nobody in our space was doing it this way. That was the whole point. I built the entire framework, the pricing structure, the delivery playbook, the pitch deck. Then I made the mistake of sharing it with my boss. He asked me to walk him through it in a one-on-one. I did. He nodded a lot, said things like, "This is interesting," and "Let me think about how we'd implement this." Then he asked me to send over all the files. I did that too. 6 days later, he presented it in the company all-hands meeting. Slide by slide, my framework, my pricing model, my playbook, with one difference. His name was on it. I sat in the 3rd row. I watched him click through my slides. I watched people nod and clap. I watched the CEO shake his hand afterward. And I felt something shift inside me. Not rage, not sadness. Something quieter than both of those. Clarity. I realized in that moment that if I walked up to him after that meeting and said, "Hey, that was my work," what would happen? He'd deny it, or minimize it, or worse, he'd make me look like a bitter employee who couldn't handle someone improving on their ideas. There was no version of confronting him that helped me. He'd built a career on knowing that. So I made a decision. I would say nothing. I would smile. I would keep coming to work every day. And I would use every single day I was still in that building to quietly build my exit. I gave myself 1 year. I called it the quiet build. Here's what most people don't understand about revenge. The messy, emotional kind. The confrontations, the exposés, the dramatic exits. Those feel satisfying for about 15 minutes. Then you're unemployed with a bad reference and the person you hate is still sitting in their office. The real revenge is building something so undeniable that the market makes the statement for you. So that's what I did. Step 1. I registered an LLC. Took about 20 minutes online. Chose a name that meant nothing to anyone. For now. Step 2. I started taking one freelance client on the side. Completely above board. I checked my contract. There was no non-compete for independent work outside my job category. One client. Small. Just to test the model. My model. The one that had just been stolen from me. It worked exactly the way I'd designed it. Within 90 days, that one client was generating $3,200 a month. More than my entire bonus from the year before. Step 3. I quietly reached out to 2 colleagues. People I trusted. People who were also underpaid and undercredited. I didn't pitch them anything dramatic. I just asked, if something better existed, would you want to know about it? They both said yes. Step 4. I documented everything. Every piece of work I produced at my job. Every email. Every concept. Every result. Not to sue anyone. I'm not that person. But because I knew that when I left. I wanted there to be zero question about what I had built. And who had built it. By month 8, my side business had 4 clients. Monthly revenue, just over $11,000. I was still showing up to work every day. Still being professional. Still being good at my job, honestly, because I needed my reputation intact. And then month 11, something happened that I hadn't planned for. My boss's biggest client, a company we'd had for 3 years, put their contract out to rebid. Someone had referred them to a new agency, a scrappy, newer firm with a very interesting retainer model. Mine. I want to be careful about how I tell this part, because I'm not going to pretend I felt nothing. When I found out that client had chosen us, and that my old boss had lost the bid, I sat alone in my home office for a few minutes, and just let it land. We're talking about a $180,000 annual contract. His largest single account. Gone. And he had no idea the company that won it was built by the person who used to sit 3 desks away from him. I resigned 2 days later. 2 weeks' notice. Professional. Clean. He gave me a handshake and said, I always knew you'd go off on your own eventually. I smiled and said, thanks for everything. And I meant it. Because honestly, he was right. He just didn't realize he was the reason. Within 6 months of leaving, we had 11 clients. Monthly recurring revenue had crossed $40,000. Both colleagues who I'd quietly recruited had joined full-time. The company my boss worked for restructured twice in the following year. Last I heard, he's still there. Still in the same office. Still taking credit for other people's work. But that's not my problem anymore. Here's what I want you to take from this. If someone steals from you your ideas, your work, your credit, you have 2 options. You can fight them on their turf, with their rules, inside a system they built to protect themselves. Or you can go build something they can't touch. The second option takes longer. It requires you to swallow your anger long enough, to stay strategic. It requires patience that feels almost inhuman some days. But when it pays off, nobody can take that from you, because you didn't just beat them. You outgrew them. If this story hit close to home, if you're sitting somewhere right now, feeling like your work isn't being seen or credited, I want to know. Drop a comment below. Tell me what's going on. Because you might be closer to your own version of this than you think. And if you want to see more stories like this one, subscribe, because I've got more. And they get a lot more interesting.